What's up, you guys? Sean Ross Sapp here for the Wrestling Inc. podcast, non-Monday Night Raw edition, April 27th edition. I am joined here by the criminally underdressed Rob McCarron. Rob, how are you?
Yeah, criminally maybe going a little too far. Weather is weather. Situations arise where sometimes you need to wear the bare minimum. And let's face it, you and I did a show earlier. I've been at this desk in this heat. So what if I'm just wearing a tank top? What do the kids call it these days? Is it a tank top? Don't call it a beater. Don't.
I think they call it the Kidman.
They call it the Kidman. I am the Kidman here, with a little bit less hair and a little bit less of a dating history. But
indeed, the weather outside is weather.
The weather outside is weather. I mean, you know this. I mean, geez, and I'm not trying to complain, but it is what it is. It's 70 one day and then 30 the next. And right now you get caught in the middle where one day you have the air on and the next day you have the heat on and it doesn't transition very well. And you just get trapped in this weather tornado.
In our general area, you live, not that far from me, Midwest. Right. It's 70, 75 degrees, but it's raining every day for the next 10 days.
Right. It's absolutely, it's insane.
Anyway, we have this show brought to you by ddpyoga.com/wrestling inc. Please go there, support the show. We have a bit of breaking news, Rob.
We do. We have a bit of breaking news, sir.
Yeah, it appears as if Rich Brennan, WWE announcer, has been released from the company. Any lasting impressions of Rich Brennan other than him calling every other move as, ooh?
Yeah, he did that a lot. No lasting impressions. I like Tom Phillips better, and Tom Phillips has been doing NXT, and he's been doing it pretty well. So, once they sent Tom Phillips down, they have this new announcers doing backstage interviews on NXT. They had an overwhelming abundance of them. Not so much so to the point where they can cut Byron Saxton down, because Byron Saxton is on every show too. So it's interesting what they do with the announcers, but he's just another guy. Sadly, but yeah, he's gone. 4 hours ago, he tweeted, on to the next thing. So, the Rich Brennan era of NXT, which really has covered all of the WWE Network era. This guy has been around. When Tom Phillips got called up, Rich Brennan went from backstage interviewer to on screen doing commentary, and he grew in the role. I thought he was never that great, but he grew in the role, and that's really all you can ask. And they just came to a time where they said, you know what, we're done.
Well, when you have the likes of Arda Ocal, who is what's his name now in WWE?
Kyle Edwards, he's just hanging around.
Kyle Edwards and Renee Young, it's going to be hard to crack that spot. It's going to be very hard because they're both very good. Also, Kathy Kelly now, who has struggled and is now pretty much relegated to these weekly WWE YouTube videos, but still, that would have been a hard one to pass too. But, Rob, we have not spoken to you on the Wrestling Inc. podcast since the news broke that Samoa Joe was the new NXT champion. Tell me your initial thoughts when you heard this.
Yeah, it's been like 2 weeks since I've seen you on video, too, because last week we had all the issues. We had to go audio only, so I'm glad to be back a part of this. Yeah, we had a couple of news bits since last week.
You look like you were almost counting on the video to not work tonight.
I was hoping the video would work, and it has. Oh yeah, quite the look. From tomorrow, I'm going to be in a tuxedo. What do you know? You never know what I'm going to be wearing. What are you going to be doing? The news is broken. Samoa Joe is the new NXT champion. We got. They made it sound, didn't they? Like tonight, they were going to show the full match, and it just didn't happen.
Yeah, I was a little surprised. I thought they were going to do that, and NXT is really good and really creative about doing that, about switching up their tapings and stretching things out and making some of their things work. But this was really nothing more than what we had seen on YouTube over the past week.
NXT's Greatest Matches Volume 2. I'm sure this will be the headliner of that next DVD once they release that. Because, I thought for sure we were going to get the full match. But, hey, we got clips. We got more clips than what they had been showing originally on the website, which is okay. A little bit better HD viewing of it on the full screen. So, hey, what are you going to do? I mean, the new champion, that was the news. It happened, 5 days ago? So by now it's not necessarily old news. It's still interesting. Puts into perspective better the fact that Finn Balor wasn't on any of the Access TV tapings for NXT. Whether he shows up on Sunday or not, Who knows? But this guy, they're taping TV for NXT, what, tomorrow? So
yeah, I was going to ask when they were taping. So
tomorrow.
Ooh, that's going to be a fun podcast. I don't think we've done a show while NXT tapings are going on, and those are hot nights. Those are good nights.
Yeah, and it'll be over likely. I mean, they usually go from 6:30 to 9:30, so we'll know everything that's going on, at least breaking news wise.
Yeah.
From the NXT taping.
If you don't like spoilers, guys, tomorrow might not be the show for you, because those NXT spoiler posts on the site. Those are big time.
Tomorrow is going to be full on Sean and Rob breaking down stuff that we haven't seen that won't air for, some of it until 4 weeks from now on Memorial Day. We'll get into the Memorial Day episode of NXT.
To be fair, sometimes we talk Lucha Underground on here, and some of those might not even air until the next, I don't know, we might land a man on Mars before.
Oh, we've talked
Lucha Underground.
Yeah,
airs.
We've talked about Lucha Underground shows. I've talked about matches that I honestly, to tell you the truth, I haven't seen. I mean, if you're under the impression that I have to see wrestling to have a hot take on it, you're wrong.
Indeed. So yeah, Samoa Joe, new NXT champion. You have a lot of people saying, well, why didn't they do it at TakeOver? Well, Finn Balor wouldn't have broken Neville's record if they would have done that. Also, this really shows you NXT live events are must see. And we've brought this up several times on the show, Rob. They're also another thing they're very good at is making their live events must see. When you were in Indianapolis, you saw an amazing tag match and a moment between Finn Balor and Bayley that was so good that they aired it on their YouTube.
No, you're going to see something interesting if you go to one of these national shows. And let's be real, this NXT Lowell show, the Lowell, Massachusetts show where this change happened, has some history for Samoa Joe. He won the TNA title there. It has obviously history. It's right in the backyard of Triple H. It's an interesting show because it really is a super indie. It's a super indie show. You have Tommaso Ciampa versus Biff Busick on this show. You have Samoa Joe versus Finn Balor on the show. Shinsuke Nakamura is on the card. It's as close to a super indie as you're going to get without actually being an independent, in the WWE realm of things. So it's very interesting in that regard. You do have the big news. It teaches you, yes, you want to make sure that you buy these tickets. It was in an arena that was seating 2,500, which is bigger than what they've been doing on some of these nationwide tours that usually hit around, 1,000 to 1,500 people that can get in the building. So it was a larger arena for that. So you definitely had the atmosphere around there if they are going to show the whole match in some form down the line. It's newsworthy. It gave NXT a full week of buzz. Instead of having it TakeOver and then being dwarfed by WrestleMania 2 nights later, it gave NXT buzz from Friday night, or even Thursday night is when it happened, right? So Thursday night, all the way to tonight when they actually could air it on TV. And now the buzz will continue for the next couple of days for those who may not have actually known Samoa Joe was the champion. You watch this episode of TV, and now you have a couple more days of talking about that. And it's really interesting buzz for this kind of slow period. We talk about how there's NXT TV tapings tomorrow, but there's no TakeOver until June 8th. We're still a month and a half away from the next TakeOver at a slow period where we don't know what's going to happen with the top guys in NXT. So it really created some more interest. And with one flip of the switch, with that one move, now you're guessing completely. Because with Finn Balor as champion, we thought maybe a rematch with Samoa Joe or possibly they go to Shinsuke. But now with Samoa Joe, are they going to do Shinsuke? Is Bobby Roode going to come in and actually get the first shot? Is Austin Aries going to be moved up a level? There's a lot of different questions that need to be answered. And with 2 TV tapings left till TakeOver, we may not even get all the questions answered tomorrow. This might be a guessing game we play for the next month.
Indeed. Somebody brought up a good point. Bender the Offender on our board said, Devin Taylor gets her head tapped by Dana Brooke, released. Rich Brennan gets his head tapped by Dana Brooke, released. I don't want to be the next person getting the head pat.
I would not be wanting to get the head pat from Miss Dana Brooke. But you talk about breaking news. We're all swarmed in with this NXT title change. Dana Brooke made her return this weekend at the NXT house.
Thrilled to see that, because the length of time that she was out and the limited amount of information that we had about the injury was concerning. She wrestled once from early October until her return. She popped up in a tag match, I think it was, or 2 in February, and apparently she wasn't ready. Back on the shelf. That was at a couple of live events. But she's back now, and they need her back.
Yeah. And what's interesting is the fact that she was still routinely on television. She was backing up Emma. She was still routinely on television. A lot of times when they have these injuries, even if someone can appear on TV, they keep them off.
Yeah.
But with Dana Brooke, she kept going on there. So this tells me it could have been like a week-to-week kind of thing where they just never knew when she was going to be ready until it finally happened. It wasn't something where like Hideo Itami is going to be out 6 to 8 months, or, you know, Sami Zayn is going to be out 6 to 8 months. They may not have known when she was going to come back and always had her ready just in case there was a spot for her. Because, yeah, that was weird that she was routinely on television for 6 months before wrestling again.
Somebody on the comment board says, tell Rob he needs to order from trendybutler.com. I wish they sponsored our Wednesday, Thursday shows. They are.
What? They don't?
I won't go into that, but we do still work with them.
I'm sad. I got to hit the numbers.
But I'll say this.
I'm sorry.
You look like you are dressed.
I look like a bro.
You look like you are dressed for some ddpyoga.com /wrestling inc.
Yeah.
And as I said on Monday's edition of the podcast, if Gallows and Anderson do join up with AJ Styles, they will have the benefit of ddpyoga.com /wrestling inc. That's something they're going to have to weigh when they decide who they side with. Because if they go against AJ Styles, sorry guys, no ddpyoga.com /wrestling inc for you. Go there, get a great deal on the Max Pack. Also, DDP is in Australia right now for our Australian listeners. He was there screening the Resurrection of Jake the Snake, which is now available on iTunes, Google Play, PlayStation Network, Amazon, Vudu, all types of video on demand. And if you are in Australia, hang on, because DDP is in Melbourne conducting a DDP Yoga workshop on May 1st. You can go to ticketblaster.com.au and check that out. Raj got to enjoy the one in Dallas the weekend of WrestleMania. They had over 100 people there. So great stuff there. Also, tweet DDP and DDP Yoga. Let them know Wrestling Inc. sent you. Rob!
Yes, sir.
You
Yes. What's up?
Nothing.
Okay.
Nothing. People keep asking me to wear the Trendy Butler hat. Okay, so Trendy Butler sent me a box of clothes.
Okay, that's cool.
I'm not even supposed to push them right now. It had over $200 worth of stuff in it.
Oh, wow.
In it was a $75 cashmere beanie.
Okay. Do you want, and you're telling me I should eat that?
You know what? That actually came up. Me and Vince talked about it on the show, and he was astounded that you had pledged to eat a hat, but he's excited about it.
You think I'm going to have to?
I don't know. I'm going to ask him Monday. But people were saying, have them eat the cashmere beanie. No, I'm not having you eat the cashmere beanie. That thing is beautiful. It's elegant. It feels wonderful. It's unisex. I can wear it. I can have my fiance wear it. Anybody can wear it. I'm not feeding it to Rob. But also, it's 85 degrees in this office right now. So I am not going to wear the beanie.
It's weird because, I mean, outside it's 35 degrees, but inside, super hot.
Yeah.
You get the air on, it finally starts working, and it just overloads and just goes crazy. Yeah. See, what I was going for there was Vince Russo routinely refers to bro. I was the bro he refers to.
Yeah.
But now
I got it.
Now I'm back to normal, and you all who are averting your eyes can now feast your eyes on the screen and tell me how ridiculous I am at Shake Them Ropes.
We have a couple of questions. Don't really fit our theme here, but since they got sent in, I'll answer them anyway.
Let's just go random style today. The Wednesday we did on video like 2 weeks ago, we just went random style.
Yeah.
We had big news of the week. We had this NXT championship change. We're heading on to Payback. We're going to talk about Payback on Thursday. Let's just go random style. Let's go random.
Dominic, our friend Dominic, says, if Shane and Triple H feud for the company, could the Mean Street Posse be involved in this feud? You know what? I think they could. Pete Gas made an appearance on the Edge and Christian show recently, and he looked in great shape. Right.
I'm immediately regretting the rando suggestion of this episode. No,
answer the question.
You're not going to come back. I have no idea what's going to happen with this Triple H versus Shane feud. I don't know if they're going to have a match at some point. I would think not, but you never know with Shane McMahon. The guy's still on television weekly. What the hell? What the heck? They just can't leave, huh? I don't know what's going to happen on Sunday with this. I don't know if Triple H is going to be feuding. The fact that Triple H wrestled in the UK tour like 4 nights is a little weird in itself because it's irregular, but I think he was just kind of showing up because Undertaker ended up not showing up. I think it was more of a replacement situation than a idea that he's going to be regular here in the next couple months. It's an interesting time, not just because of the roster shakeover, but also, they're actually going to do storyline-wise. When we got the news that John Cena is coming back too. So John Cena a month from now is going to come back. Where is he going to be placed in? Where's Seth Rollins going to be placed in? Where's Randy Orton going to be placed in? Where is Kane going to be placed in?
We're having some audio issues with you, Rob. So rejoin this. Yeah, just exit and come back. But also, we had this NXT show. And I'll talk about that a little bit while Rob fixes his connection issues. Eva Marie versus Asuka. Now, this is a match kind of that they built up to. Really, just the thought of Eva Marie getting her ass kicked by Asuka is the general hype for this match. If Eva could just be passable in the ring, she would make herself in the WWE a lot of money. Unfortunately, she's not there yet. I don't know if she'll ever be there. She's in her 30s now. I'll have to look and see how old she is. But Eva Marie is already in her 30s, 31 years old. She's going to be 32 this year. And she's not exactly passable in the ring yet. I had people, Rob, comparing Eva Marie, saying, well, Eva Marie hasn't picked up this wrestling thing. Neither has Roman Reigns. How dare you? Eva has not had a 4-star match with Bayley or Asuka or any of these great workers she's in the ring with. Roman Reigns had a 4-star match with Big Show in 2015.
Roman Reigns is really good. I've been saying it. Hopefully the audio issues, whatever we were having, are settled. Good. Okay. Yeah, Roman Reigns is really good. I think people were just wanting the push to be towards Seth Rollins or Dean Ambrose, so they were shaking off Roman a little bit faster than they should have because he wasn't, their guy maybe. Roman Reigns is really good. Eva Marie in her role is really good too. I don't care if she hasn't had a 4-star match with Asuka. She's had entertaining matches with Asuka, so I don't care if they're going to be rated 4 stars by anybody. But Roman Reigns is really good. He's coming into his own a little bit now, being a little bit looser on television in a speaking role. I like Roman, and I think it would be a mistake on Sunday if they take the title away from him. As much as I would love to, see the pandemonium with AJ Styles being the WWE World Champion, Roman Reigns just won it. He finally got a big moment, but really the big moment for him is how he transitions into a somewhat newish character and where he goes from here as the champion heading into SummerSlam and beyond. So I think it would be too early for AJ to win, but Roman Reigns is really good.
Speaking of NXT, Nakamura wrestled tonight.
Pretty good too.
Yeah, he's pretty good at that wrestling stuff.
And that charisma there, I mean, he hasn't had speaking time or anything like that. But, you look at him smile in the camera, simple stuff when he's staring right into the camera and doing a little wink. That sort of stuff, you're like, oh, well, that was cool. And he looks like someone you want to watch wrestle. He hasn't had the best opponents yet. I mean, outside of Sami Zayn, who have his opponents been, Ty Dillinger and now Elias Sampson. Put him in there when someone's really invested in seeing who his opponent is and seeing how he's going to do. What I really am interested in with Shinsuke Nakamura, and I don't think it's going to happen for a long, long time. I don't think it happens at this takeover. It probably happens later on down the line. How are fans going to react, and how is WWE going to react when Shinsuke loses a match? Because I don't know if that's coming down the pike anytime soon. We haven't seen Asuka lose either yet, right? So are we going to be into a situation where if they end up putting Shinsuke in the title picture, he has to win? Are they going to keep him away from the title picture so he doesn't have to lose? I am really interested in seeing where Shinsuke goes on NXT, because for the next couple of weeks on television, he'll be wrestling, these basic matches and winning pretty easily outside of takeovers. But what happens when he actually wrestles Samoa Joe? What happens when he wrestles in Austin Aries? What happens when he wrestles some new guy down the pike that they want to give a win to,
Yeah, I agree. He's got something special, which NXT really needs with the pillaging of the roster. Somebody says Eva Marie is a step above, is now a notch above Kelly Kelly. I can't argue that. People at least care about Eva Marie.
Eva Marie is better in the ring in the small doses on the main roster and in NXT than Kelly Kelly was. Kelly Kelly looked like she never really belonged. Eva Marie at least looks sometimes like she does. It's interesting because she kind of goes back and forth, but I don't know if it's a fair comparison either, because Kelly Kelly she was having main roster pay-per-view matches and whatnot. She was in the ring for a little bit longer, and she was around for a really long time. You'd be surprised how long Kelly Kelly was actually around. Eva Marie she's been around for a long time, but a lot of that time was spent out of the ring, on Total Divas doing non-wrestling stuff.
You know what I loved about tonight's NXT?
What did you love about tonight's NXT?
We got an old school NWA style tag team squash match mollywhopping.
Yeah, the Revival.
They stomped those two guys out.
They straight up stomped 3.0. That was fun to watch. I liked seeing 3.0 on television, but yeah, they played good.
Weight of Victor from the Ascension, those two guys.
Oh my God. Yeah. No, I love how Corey Graves, of course, had worked shows with 3.0 before and making fun of the chicken legs, which is a common thing. They don't work the legs. Shane Matthews and Jagged. What a fun time. But the Revival looked great, and it was an old school squash match, and that was what you needed, because the Revival just lost their titles, and they should not be wrestling competitive matches with Mike Lee and Shane Parker or whatever their names were on this show.
I thought it was awesome. I thought the segment was awesome from beginning to end. I thought the promo was good afterward.
We don't get a lot of that from them. Yeah.
No, and this was a great segment for them. No offense for the other team. Old school squash match style. They did get a little bit of shine when, I can't remember if it was Parker or Lee, screamed, "I'm respecting the rules." I like that. That was fun.
Oh, yeah, that was no shine. That was hope, if you will.
Yeah.
They did not get much of that either on this show. No, it was a straight up squash match, and honestly, you should start seeing some of that on NXT. I think we even talked about that before, or at least we've had a conversation at some point, where one or two squash matches on NXT TV weekly wouldn't kill them. Give them a 10-minute main event, have a couple of segments where it's quick squash matches, and maybe a basic 6-minute match here and there, some promo time, get people over. I would not hate if NXT was a one-match show weekly, where that one match you get at the end is well worth sitting through the 45 minutes of character development.
Also, the crowd chants of defense were also very good during this.
Yeah, that crowd at Access was interesting because they knew who they were supposed to cheer and go crazy for, but at the same time, it was half of a crowd that knew what was going on, and half of a crowd that had been, planning for a year to go to Access and really only watches WWE and was just there for the experience of being enthralled into WWE. Interesting dynamic, because you don't get that at Full Sail. Everyone in Full Sail knows who everyone is and what their stories and backgrounds are. Access was half of this, half of that, and it meshed interestingly. And, you really saw that with Shinsuke Nakamura. You really saw that when Asuka was coming out for her entrance. I kind of like when they take these shows on the road for TV, where it's not just a Full Sail crowd.
I got to say, we give Josh Matthews a lot of crap on this show.
Don't do it, man.
I have to do it. He did an excellent job last night in the EC3 Mike Bennett match. I was impressed.
Okay, so
he did good. He did excellent.
We're praising Josh Matthews here for
granted he job. Yes. And he screamed, "Holy shit!" when EC3 was pinned for the first time, which I think helped expand the gravity of the situation. 30 months without being pinned.
Yeah.
Mike Bennett on the outside was in disbelief that he, even though he is their chosen one, that he even pinned him. He was shocked. EC3 had a look of shock. I really wish, I feel bad because this couldn't be on a big stage. There was no big stage for this moment, unfortunately. This is as big as the stage is going to get for that moment, because I don't think TNA is going to make some miraculous recovery.
No, they're not going to make any recovery, but you're absolutely right. Sometimes The big stars, even Mike Bennett, who has this huge giant ego, they go in with the ego that they're going to beat the guy, but when it actually happens, it's still a shocking moment. Look at Brock Lesnar and Undertaker. When Brock Lesnar, the whole month, he knew he was going to beat the Undertaker. He was going to murder him. Paul Heyman knew he was going to murder him. He goes in there when he actually wins. He's still shocked. It's like, oh, you didn't expect that. And, you know, I can say as much as I can say, but who actually knows what to believe until it actually happens? I like the look of shock from Mike Bennett. I love EC3's work in TNA. It's great. You know, TNA is the weirdest thing. Can we talk about how last night Dave Lagana and Maria Kanellis and all the wrestlers in TNA are seemingly at the very same time tweeting about how high morale is in TNA?
That's because they were told to. We know they were told to.
I know they're told to do it. And it's like I tweeted out 9 p.m. must be when they told everyone to get on Twitter and start hyping up everything. And EC3 kind of does it while at the same time gives a little wink, wink, nod, nod that how silly it is. Because, you know, he knows what the deal is. But everyone's
and he knows that we know what the deal is.
He does. But what I couldn't believe is, you know, Dave Lagana is retweeting and tweeting at all these people who are criticizing the show. Do you even watch the show? Have you watched TV lately? When they're building a straw man. No one is talking about that the TV's bad. You know, we acknowledge that the TV is interesting. And when you watch the TV, there are compelling characters on that show. What's laughable about TNA is the backstage handling of the television show. The fact that they don't do live events. They haven't taken a ticket in 15 years or however long it is. Exaggeration, obviously. But no one's talking about the bad quality of the television show. They do the best at what they have, you know, getting their 300 fans in the building and making a television show. And it's interesting for 2 hours. What they're not addressing is the management of the company and the rumors that are flying around. The fact that most of their big talent is left. Marie even spoke on Twitter about how this is a new TNA. Like the TNA of 3 years ago isn't there anymore. There's no AJ Styles. There's no Bobby Roode. As if that's a good thing. Well, a lot of TNA fans liked the TNA talent that was there. And now they're not there anymore. So can you understand how fans may be upset with that brand and how they may have left the company? It's not because your TV got worse, even though sometimes it is laughable. But most of that happened with the old TNA. They're not laughing at you and leaving because of the talent and the on-air product. They're leaving because all the fans they were invested in for 10 years got either kicked to the curb or left because they knew the management was a joke. So they're building a straw man argument about how the TV is bad when no one's saying that. And if they are saying that, yeah, they're probably right. They're not actually watching the television. TNA has bigger problems than to go harass fans on Twitter for, you know, talking about the bad product on TV.
Ignore that. What is actually wrong. To get back the ones that you lost.
Nice. And you don't have to get them back all back. You don't have to get them all back. Where will I take AJ Styles over Eli Drake? Absolutely. Is there anyone taking, you know, thank God Wes Briscoe was gone, but is there anyone taking Mike Bennett over almost any of the talent that left? I mean, would you rather have Mike Bennett than Bobby Roode? Would you rather have Mike Bennett than, you know, Christian's a bad example because he wouldn't come back now anyway. He's retired. But there's a lot of talent that left, and there's a lot of talent that said no to them, to the point where people were getting excited on Twitter on Saturday when they were taping TV that the Killer Elite Squad may actually be there, that Lance Hoyt and Davey Boy Smith might actually be in Florida. And oh my God, those are two big stars compared to the rest of the level of talent in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Would I rather have Matt freaking Hardy in 2016, as great as he is on television? Would I rather be invested in him versus AJ Styles? Hell no. Yeah. I would rather be invested in AJ Styles, and AJ Styles was doing great as a heel and babyface in TNA. You're alienating fans who have left because they just don't like that the roster turned over so much. Some people actually like the roster you had for the first 10 years, and now it's just not there anymore. You're right. It's a new TNA, but for the fans who are mocking TNA, it's still not the new TNA. For the fans that know it's a new TNA and accept that, they're still not happy either because they like the old TNA.
We figured out about 300,000 people are fans of the new TNA. That's just it. Also, our friend Amplified to Rock yesterday said that TNA worked itself into a shoot over a TNA morale Twitter account that has about 600 followers. Because
it's unbelievable. Like they're
600 followers.
Out. They're freaking out. I mean, they just don't understand their base. They don't understand attracting new fans. You know, the TV's been entertaining, but is anyone still going to say that it's different from WWE?
Yeah, it's not different. That being said, that EC3 Mike Bennett segment, I thought the match was good. I thought the aftermath was great. That was excellent television. well worth the watch, you guys. There was some good stuff on that show, or at least interesting stuff. Bobby Roode went out in a blaze of glory. He got sent through about 4 million thumbtacks. Eric Young, it looks like he's done. Still promoting the show too. So much respect to him for being a professional, which he hasn't always been during his TNA run. More professional outside of his TNA run than during his TNA run. But then again, when you're being told to defend your company, even at the risk of making yourself seem ridiculous, it happens.
Super nice and professional guy, but he was being forceful, and you know what? He was loyal to TNA, and they did right by him, and he made a lot more money than he might have made anywhere else in wrestling. So you can understand how he was trying to back them up a little bit, but sometimes going a little bit more overzealously. I mean, Bobby Roode, who appeared on NXT TakeOver a month ago, is finally now off TNA television. It's a strange dynamic in wrestling right now with Lucha Underground and TNA and NXT. We went from the days in the 80s and the 90s of taping long television rings for, in one night or 2 nights in a row, and then not airing that television for a month, to the mid 90s to the early 2000s, where everything had to be live. Like SmackDown had to be live, and Raw had to be live, and Nitro had to be live. Every show had to be live. And now we're going right back to where everything's taped. I mean, it went from, we were accepting of SmackDown being on a 2-day tape delay, to where now NXT tapes a month in advance, and Lucha Underground takes a year in advance, and
it's
a month in advance.
It's funny because Lucha Underground might be able to make money if they did it another way, but they can't because of production. TNA can't make money. They have to do it this way because it's the only way they can afford it. If NXT wanted to run a live show every other week, they could probably fill up a house somewhere, wherever they wanted to, charge for tickets, and make that money back. But they choose not to. Do you ever see them going that route? Maybe the 1 week live, 1 week off, because you can't run a 1 hour live show every week.
No, NXT could probably, from Full Sail University, they might be able to actually run a live show, and 1 live to 3 taped. So they're taping their 1 live show, and then 3 more episodes that'll air taped later on. You could probably do something like that. They can't go live every week in the consistency that would be needed in the way that they're worked right now. I don't know if they would be able to draw more than 3,000 fans for a live TV taping after the first couple of ones. That might be a hardship in itself. And your TV's one hour. And you're not going to go live for 1 hour every week. And even if you went 2 hours, you're probably not going to do that either. And it's just a tax on all the personnel that actually have to make that possible, doing Raw, SmackDown, then NXT. So do I see that happening anytime soon? Absolutely not. And then who knows what NXT is going to be like 2 years from now. If Triple H assumes power on the main roster and more talent control, television control there, does he lose focus on NXT? Does someone else have a different idea for what NXT should be? Do they end up making it a third brand? Do they keep it on the network, period? Maybe they don't have to go live, because why would you for a network show? There's so much change in NXT right now. I would not be able to tell you a year from now what NXT is going to look like in any way, shape, or form.
I'm with you. Meanwhile, in Lucha Underground, Matanz is punching through windows and cutting his arm up. Apparently, it wasn't as bad as people thought. He had, I think, 5 stitches and is able to wrestle. You would think that they would not put a guy that important to their show in that situation to where he could cut himself.
It's a television show. Things happen. These guys are doing their own stunts. They're stuntmen on this television program, and it's Lucha Underground. They're looking for stranger and stranger angles. I mean, what are you gonna do? At some point, you're going through glass. Let's face it. On a wrestling show, at some point, someone's going through glass. There's not been a wrestling company in the history of this world where at some point someone hasn't gone through glass. It happens, and sometimes you don't plan for it very well, and cuts happen. Hope is okay. I only heard that he sliced up his arm. I didn't actually hear the severity of it. So hopefully all things are well for him.
New trios champions tonight. Team Havoc lost. Salty about that. Angelico not there. Bummer.
God, you sound so enthused about Lucha Underground. You just sound like you are ready to go with it.
To be honest, that team, Angelico, Ivelisse, Son of Havoc, my favorite act in the whole show. Has been since the first season. And there's not a lot to be excited about this season. We had Johnny Mundo versus Cage in a cage, as he said.
Ooh.
Johnny Mundo's acting is among the worst I've ever seen in wrestling. And that is not shocking because it's never been good.
Yeah.
But there are some people that, because he says it's good, for some reason believe it's good. His charisma extends to him saying, I am charismatic, and that's it. That is the length of his charisma. But yeah, Cage won. Man, I don't know what Cage's goals are, but he's going to have to change up his dietary stuffs if he wants in the WWE. Man, that guy.
I think that ship has sailed, honestly. I don't think if WWE wanted him, they would have had him.
They did have him.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. They would have had him and kept him. I think that ship has sailed for whatever reason. And, you know, he's on the West Coast. Sometimes it's a little bit tougher for the West Coast guys to get signed and stay signed. I mean, Willie Mack was signed for 1 day. So sometimes it's a little bit more difficult.
Somebody says, I believe the guy who played Matanza said he punched through the wrong window and they set up a fake one, but he punched a real one. That shouldn't happen. That shouldn't happen on a TV show.
Right.
There should be somebody that says, cut. Not cut your arm, just cut.
As you see him going through the wrong window, maybe, you know, warn him a little bit before actually just guessing, hey, is he going to cut through the wrong window? No way he punches that window. Oh, he's cocking up. He's going to punch that window. Whoa, that was the wrong window, buddy. Yeah, you can do things a little bit before that happens.
Indeed. And, you know, it's hard for us to talk about it when it won't air until 2024, but, you know, it is what it is.
Talk about not knowing what NXT is going to be like a year from now. We don't know what TV is going to be like by the time Lucha Underground actually airs. Who knows if that channel still exists a year
We
from
don't know who the president of this country will be when this show is going to air.
It's true. It's true. We don't know who the president will be. We don't know who the vice president of this country will be. We don't know who the World Series champions will be of this.
Oh, that'll be the Cincinnati Reds.
Shut up. They're not making up. Shut up. Shut up, Sean. Sean, bro, stop it. The Cincinnati Reds are over. It's over. The Cubs, I think, are like 2 games away. Their magic numbers.
Your magic number is like 800 because your audio is messing up again.
It's all your fault.
It's that Indiana dial-up. You get all excited and then your audio cuts out. But
I can't get that Google Fiber.
Oh, I need it. I need that Google Fiber. I want to be inside that Google Fiber. Global Cruiserweight Series. Zack Sabre Jr. is on WWE's YouTube. It's a beautiful day, Rob.
It's a beautiful day. I'm excited for Zack Sabre Jr.
Yeah, your audio's messing up. Exit and enter again.
Oh my God, what is happening here?
Zack Sabre Jr. on WWE's YouTube right now. If you're not familiar with Zack Sabre, one of the best technical wrestlers, just period. I didn't know a lot about Zack Sabre until I started to write for Wrestling Inc. and I had to cover some more of the obscure wrestling that exists in the world. But yeah, they have his qualifying match, or at least the highlights of his qualifying match on WWE's YouTube. It's Zack Sabre Jr. against Flash Morgan Webster at Progress Wrestling, and then Jack Gallagher versus Pete Dunne. So they have 2 qualifying matches from the Global Cruiserweight Series already going. So, I mean, technically, this is already underway well over a month ahead of, you know, when they really planned.
Yeah, the Global Cruiserweight Series. Any better, Sean?
Much better.
Okay. I don't know what's happening here. Yeah, it might be like snowing while also having a heat wave outside. So maybe that's throwing off the waves.
It might be the tornado on the other end of your home.
Yeah, no, there's tornado, Sharknado around here too, actually. So a lot of stuff going on.
Somebody said Rob's internet connection needs ddpyoga.com/wrestling inc.
No, what it needs is the tank top back. Maybe I'm wearing too many clothes. All the colors coming through the internet are slowing everything down. That could be the issue. Yeah, the Global Cruiserweight Series is ongoing. Zack Sabre Jr. I mean, video on the WWE.com website, video on the WWE YouTube page. Triple H gave it away. I mean, the results of some of these qualifying matches were basically set ahead of time by Triple H. Zack Sabre Jr. is going to be in it, and he's one of the favorites to win it. I mean, not knowing the full roster, Zack Sabre and La Sombra are probably the two favorites I have going in to win this thing. I'm really looking forward to seeing Zack Sabre Jr. in it, some of the new talents. TJ Perkins, how many years has he spent in independent West Coast and TNA purgatory to where he's probably going to be in this global cruiserweight series, and he has a qualifying match with Evolve. So very exciting time. Can't talk about enough how exciting this time is for all that. But yeah, Zack Sabre Jr. on WWE Network in a WWE ring in front of a Full Sail crowd where this guy has a different style than almost everybody. It meshes pretty well with most styles, so that's a good thing for it, but it's a different style for sure. Yeah, Zack Sabre Jr. in the Cruiserweight series, and you can see that video at WWE.com right now. Zack Sabre Jr. is on the front page of WWE.com.
That's super cool. Also, today, well, it wasn't today, this week, Joe Koff, Ring of Honor COO, was interviewed by Jim Ross, said he would be more than happy to discuss possibly working with WWE and the WWE Network, putting some of their content on the network. Do you see this as a possibility at all? And really, why wouldn't Ring of Honor?
Would Ring of Honor want it? Yes. Would WWE want it if they can't fully own it? No.
And, I mean, because they've not been willing to do that with any other. You don't see Evolve on the WWE Network yet, and it would certainly be a possibility.
Yeah, they want what they want, and they also don't want, NXT is their indie brand. They don't want other indies on there. It dilutes the brand of NXT. So, they're trying to have no mistakes about it. They are getting Evolve to work with them, and Evolve's getting some benefit out of the relationship, the WWE ties, the promotion on their website, the buzz surrounding Evolve, and hell, WrestleMania weekend showed that Evolve was kind of benefiting from that. They had record-breaking crowds. So they're getting a piece of the pie, but ROH, I don't think WWE would be getting everything they want out of an ROH deal. So they're just not going to do it unless they, somehow own the footage and can do a little bit more. Because let's face it, Triple H is building a super indie. He's building NXT to compete with the Ring of Honors, to get that indie buzz their way. They're not trying to help all of the indies. They're helping Evolve because they're getting something from Evolve, but we can't spread that out too much.
Somebody asked what we think of the Drew McIntyre Tyrus title match. It happened.
I like Drew McIntyre. I like what he's done. The thing is, the best stuff he's done has been outside of TNA ever since leaving WWE. The best stuff he's done has been involved in PWG. Go ahead.
Speaking of, somebody says if Zack Sabre wins the Cruiserweight series, PWG is up shit creek without a paddle. No, not really. They'll have him drop the title. There's always talented guys that are going to come through that company.
No, absolutely. They'll have him drop the title or do some type of tournament. Who knows, when or if he's actually going to sign a full-time deal with WWE. I actually don't think he's the favorite to win. He would be, 2 or 3 on my list. I think the favorite right now is the former La Sombra, Manny Andrade. I think he is the favorite to win. But I wouldn't be surprised if Zack Sabre did end up winning. I think he's on their radar. I think they do want to sign him. But no, they're not on Schitt's Creek. PWG will have 3 different shows by the time anything.
Well, they're definitely not on Schitt's Creek because that's a program on Pop TV.
Is it really?
Yeah, right. Yeah. It's advertised during TNA an awful lot, which is kind of ironic.
Do you think the advertisers of Schitt's Creek are advertising? This is the guy from American Pie, right?
Yeah.
You think they advertise that because, hey, let's advertise this Schitt's Creek on this shitty show? That was a horrible joke. I'm the worst. On
this show that is already up, Schitt's Creek.
Whoa!
There we go.
Okay, we talk about Lucha Underground a year from now, NXT a year from now. Is TNA going to be on television a year from now?
I hope that all those people have jobs a year from now. I'll say that.
We need to look back. This time next year, we need to look back at this episode, see what we talked about, and see if anything has actually come close to fruition.
I agree. Did you watch UFC 197, Rob?
I know what happened. I didn't watch it. I mean, I got bigger things to do. I was still coming off of the Finn Balor losing the NXT title high. I was still trying to get my cousin Connor to, go on to UFC and figure out what he wants to do.
Well, John Jones didn't look so hot, and it's ring rust. He had ring rust
I hear that.
UFC.
Sean Ross Sapp, who said a week ago, whenever we were talking about this and previewing this show, Sean Ross Sapp says John Jones can wake up out of his prison bed, get released, and still in those street clothes, beat up anyone on the roster. And that show proved that he could. He doesn't have to look pretty doing it. He doesn't have to look at his best doing it, but he can beat up anyone, even though Oliver St. Preux may not have been the best challenger of all time. But yeah,
respect to him for taking a fight to one of the greatest pound for pound fighters in human history and going the distance over Vince St. Preux. And he did it with a broken arm through a majority of the fight. If Daniel Cormier or Rumble Johnson were in that fight, could have been a different story. So I have to back off of my roll out of prison thing. I mean, he might actually still beat those guys, but it won't look as pretty as it would have a year and a half ago. Now, I think he got the ring rust off, but I think that Daniel Cormier fight is much more interesting now. That fight is now main eventing UFC 200. It's funny because I saw a Reddit post last week where people said kayfabe is still, and this was on Squared Circle, the wrestling Reddit, and they were talking about how MMA fans are such marks for buying that McGregor was off of this show. Well, who are the marks now?
He's off the show.
He's off the show. He ain't going to be on there. Maybe 201, maybe 202, maybe 203, maybe none of them if he doesn't want to. Who knows? He's not on the show. What do you think much more we can offer.
We got Jones and Cormier. Jones and Cormier will be for the interim and real.
It's a unification. Yes.
So now we're going to have 4 title fights on that show, huh?
No, it'll be 3. It's Miesha Tate versus Amanda Nunes for the bantamweight. Interim featherweight is Jose Aldo and Frankie Edgar. And then, 4 titles, essentially.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. No, 4 titles. What happened to Cain Velasquez?
He doesn't have a title. Fabricio Verdum beat him.
Oh, that's right. That's right. It's not a title fight.
But the night before, Joanna Jędrzejczyk is fighting Claudia Gadelha in a title fight. The night before that, Rafael Dos Anjos is fighting Eddie Alvarez in a title fight. So there are going to be 6 title belts that are contended for, 5 title fights. So that's going to be a big week. And, if one of those guys, if one of those title fights falls out of UFC 200, they can just move one of the title fights from earlier in the week another night or two. And,
it's called Wrestling Inc., not MMA Inc. Why are you talking about MMA? This is how much I follow UFC. I thought Cain Velasquez was still the champ.
There you go. Well, I hate to tell you guys, but we cover MMA because it's in its hottest period right now. Maybe even more so than the Lesnar era.
Do you think that's true? Do you think it's hotter right now? Well, crossover-wise, I think there's a lot of crossover between wrestling fans and MMA fans.
If you're talking pay-per-view buys, it's getting up there. It's approaching the Lesnar era.
It's amazing, right? Because I just remember how hot UFC was, mid-2000s, coming off of Ultimate Fighter, how hot that television show was. Yeah. You had really big stars who people still remember. GSP on the rise, Chuck Liddell, Randy Couture. It's amazing to think how much bigger this gets, and it really is because of exposure. I mean, it's everywhere. It's on Fox. That mainstream
It's legal everywhere, too.
Yeah, it really matters how it's legal everywhere and how much exposure it's getting. It's not all about stars. It's about how those stars can expose themselves to become bigger stars. And that's kind of
helps, too. Social media is a big thing.
Well, you talk about how that's what WWE is trying to do. They're trying to gain their exposure through NBC and being, more family friendly and getting better advertisers, where their ratings go down and their pay-per-view buys have gone down because obviously the network, it's kind of having the opposite effect because WWE they do need stars. WWE is a brand that is a star in itself, but they need someone to rise up to John Cena's shoes as he kind of fades away. They need a big star. And I don't know if Roman Reigns is going to be it. I don't know if anyone on that current roster is going to be the guy. But it's going to be important here sooner than later.
Somebody asked, what did you think of Demetrius Mighty Mouse Johnson's performance? Okay, that was incredibly badass what Demetrius Mighty Mouse Johnson did. It's hard to understand this unless you've seen it and you felt it and stuff like that. But what he did in the cage was like Anderson Silva prime levels of trolling and badassedness. Guys, if you just happen to know a high school wrestler or something like that, tell them to try to take you down and give them a clinch. It won't take long for them to put you on your ass. Just basic high school wrestling. Demetrius Mighty Mouse Johnson initiated the clinch with an Olympic gold medalist wrestler in Henry Cejudo, and he couldn't take him down. Then when he did take him down, the second time Mighty Mouse started the clinch, Mighty Mouse put his butterflies in and literally kicked Cejudo off of him to the point to where Cejudo was airborne. Then as soon as he stood up, just kneed him repeatedly until Cejudo couldn't continue. In the body, in the head. He took Cejudo's game, allowed him to get in the best position he could, then said, yeah, too bad, buddy. Now I'm going to just knee you over and over again, and won the fight. He has no peers in that division. I see a lot of people saying, fold the division, there's nobody else. No, you don't punish a guy who's that dominant. People forget when they say, oh, have him fight Dominic Cruz. 7 inches of height difference there. Big difference there. Mighty Mouse is an average size 125er. Dominic Cruz is a big 135er. Also, Dominic Cruz, maybe if he gets past Faber, it looks like Frankie Edgar might be interested in going to 135 in the future too. So that is a big fight. But yeah, UFC 200 was a good show. Anthony Showtime Pettis is about cooked. I'm surprised he's still a top 10 lightweight, but overall,
they cook fast. Pettis, Benson Henderson. I mean, they cook fast.
They do. Ben Henderson got his ass kicked by Andrei Koreshkov, another guy who was in a weight division he shouldn't have been in. Right. Ben Henderson was he couldn't handle the size disadvantage of that Andrei Koreshkov gave him.
Let me ask you this about the Mighty Mouse Johnson and that weight class. People talking about how they should fold the division. You know, because Front Row Brian was talking about this on Twitter, and there were some other people. And I think you were involved a little bit. Do you think it's not so much that they want to fold the division to punish Mighty Mouse that's so dominant, is the fact that from a promoter perspective, if you just have no one who's going to come close to him and there's not a lot of talent in that division, wouldn't you want him to maybe try and move up so you can promote a better division instead of promoting what some may call crappy fights or a crappy division?
Well, they did that.
It's not so much.
Yeah, they did that. He contended for the 135 title at one point. And
I know until they brought this into effect. But do you think maybe it was a mistake in making this 125 and the fact that it's just not a talented enough division for the high standards of USC, and they should probably, disband it?
I don't, because they can always put him back on TV. He can always headline an FS1 card or Fox or something like that.
Remove Mighty Mouse Johnson. Remove Demetrius Johnson from the equation. Imagine that he's not even in 125 anymore. Now you have everyone else. Is that a division that you want in UFC?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Ian McCall is really good. Joseph Benavidez is outstanding. John Dodson would still be there if he didn't get his ass kicked repeatedly by Mighty Mouse Johnson. You have guys like Justin Scoggins who are coming up. Anthony Pettis' brother, Sergio, is an up-and-coming prospect. Kyoji Horiguchi could have been a champion if not for Demetrius Mighty Mouse Johnson. Then you have guys like John Moraga who are really good. Ray Borg, who's good. Luis Smoka, who's good. There are a lot of guys. It's a very young division, and not a lot of people have made names yet, but you have to give it a little bit of time. Especially, it doesn't help when it's a young division and one guy has dominated it, and it seems like one guy will dominate it for the foreseeable future.
That's cool. You'll know that division and you in general more than I will. So I was just asking the question because I think that was the point. It wasn't so much about Demetrius Johnson, but the talent overall in the division. So it's interesting. I don't know if they're ever. Do you think that UFC might consider that maybe contracting a bit with the divisions, or with the amount of shows that they have, that's just not a situation they want to acknowledge at this point?
Yeah, I think because of the number of shows they have, it's probably not going to happen. Also, I don't know contractually how that'd work out with Demetrius Johnson. So it'll be interesting to see. Rob, you have anything to say to the people before we go?
I want to thank everyone for watching. Sorry for the troubles we had last week. I know I couldn't make the Thursday show, and then Wednesday was an audio only because whatever Sean was doing with the video was breaking it. Google was basically just mad at Sean, and they were taking it out on the both of us. which is sad. But thanks for returning. You can follow me on Twitter at ShakeThemRopes to catch all of the information that I have ongoing. And hope to see you back tomorrow, where I'm sure we're going to talk about Payback, our final predictions going into Payback. We'll talk about SmackDown, and send in questions, because I think tomorrow would be a really good chance to have questions and answers. Questions about WWE, wrestling outside of it. We had a big Intercontinental title match in New Japan this morning. So actually an important New Japan show that happened this morning. So if anyone wants to talk about that or anything in the world of wrestling, tomorrow would be a good chance to do it. So send your questions in via the chat room, via the YouTube chat, whatever you think is best, Sean, but have people send in questions.
Indeed. Somebody says, it's not like there's a wrestling pay-per-view this week. Hey, guys.
Thursday.
Tuesday night or Wednesday night, we cover Ring of Honor, Lucha Underground, NXT, TNA, that type of stuff, or any breaking news, of course.
And let's be real, Sean. I mean, SmackDown, while we know the spoilers per se, who's to say they don't add a match in the television only in an inset or something we don't want to preview Payback without knowing all the matches, without having the final go-home show before the pay-per-view. So we're going to watch SmackDown, and then we'll talk about Payback, having all the information on the Thursday show.
Yes, indeed. Guys, check out ddpyoga.com/wrestling inc. Join us tomorrow night after SmackDown. Should be about 10:15 Eastern time, I think. So, yeah. ddpyoga.com/wrestling inc. Guys, thank you so much for joining us. If you didn't already, subscribe to our page. We have all kinds of interviews that go up, flashback audios on Friday, of course. 3 podcasts a week, Monday, Wednesday, Thursday. Another one this week after Sunday, after Payback. I'll be here with Vince Russo. Guys, thank you so much. Until tomorrow night, we are out.